Hello, my name is Larry Russell and I'm Chief Executive Officer with the Rocky Mount Housing Authority. I want to welcome you to the Rocky Mount Housing Authority. We're glad that you're a part of our family and we look forward to helping you to do a lot of great things with the Housing Authority. We are proud of our agency, we're a high performer, and you are now part of our family. Thank you.
Hello, we are the housing managers of Rocky Mount Housing Authority. My name is Ann Harris and I'm the housing manager for West End Terrace community. We have approximately 353 units that I manage.
My name is Hope Phillips and I'm the housing manager for the Weeks Armstrong community in Edgecombe County, and currently we have almost 400 units in Edgecombe County. And we will be discussing today what is required as a resident of the Rocky Mount Housing Authority.
That's right. We're going to let you know who can stay with you, who can't stay with you, what is expected of you, and what Housing Authority can do for you. First of all, the head of household is going to be responsible for everything that go on at the unit, whether you are at home or away. If you leave your children at home, you are going to be still held responsible for the unit.
And our main focus is to provide safe, sanitary, decent housing for the residents of Rocky Mount, Nash, and Edgecombe County. You can't add someone to your lease. The same guidelines and criteria that the head of household passed, anybody that is added to the lease will also have to pass the same criteria.
And the only people that can live with you are the people that will be listed on your dwelling lease. We're hoping that you will not be sneaking anyone in or allowing them to live with you, because that will put your unit in jeopardy. Rent is due at the first of the month. You cannot choose what you would like to send in. You have to send in what's on your rent receipt as you get it per month. And you will receive that rent receipt by the end of the month for the following month. Rent is due by the first day of every month. You have 5 business days, 5 working days, whatever you choose to call it, but you have those 5 days to get it into the office. If you have any questions about that rent, you need to come into the office within those first 5 days of that month. So myself and Ms. Phillips can get with you and whatever your discrepancy is, we can iron it out for you. So therefore, you can get your rent paid and on time.
One thing I do like to say, though, we do have assistant housing managers, and they can do any adjustments that are needed on your rent statement. Like she's talking about a rent collection when you come in if you have any questions. And your rent is based on 30% of your total household income, whatever that is. Now, some people are employed, some get Social Security, some get child support. Whatever your household income is, your rent will be 30% of that income. That being said, there are times that we will work with you depending on what the situation is when it comes to getting your rent paid.
Also, your rent must be mailed into the office also. We do not take any rent in the office. It must be mailed. And we can't iterate enough how important this is, because this is the main thing that will keep you in your unit is rent. And rent is the quickest thing will get you evicted from housing by not paying it. So we can't stress enough how important it is to get your rent paid and get it paid on time.
We do not take cash in the office. Your rent must be paid by money order or cashier's check. We do have some residents that on Social Security and their money comes into the bank, and we can also offer bank draft services for you, and that way you will never even get a late fee, because just as Ms. Harrison stated, rent is due by the 5th working day of each month. After that, there's a $10 late fee applied to your account. So if you have a bank account, we'll be more than happy to draft your payment directly from your account. But again, we do not accept cash in the office. Here at the Housing Authority, we're mandated by HUD that if there's anyone in the household 18 years or older, including the head of household, anybody that's on the lease, and they're declaring zero income, they have to come in by the 15th of each month and sign what's called a declaration of no income. I know that sounds a little much, but the reason we ask you to come sign that is because no one can live on zero income when you really think about it. You have to have a way to buy your toilet paper, your toiletries, your toothpaste, and things like that. So even though you may have declared zero income to us, there's no way you can live on zero income. And if you come in and let us know who's assisting you and paying your rent, we will use that as miscellaneous income. Your rent will still more than likely be minimum rent, which is $50 a month. But at that time, we have declared some income, and you don't have to sign that statement anymore. But it is mandated by HUD that if you are declaring zero income, you have to come in and sign that statement.
If you do decide to move from housing, you do have to give a 30-day written notice. All your rent and other charges must be paid in full. You must leave the dwelling unit clean and undamaged beyond normal wear and tear. We do know things do wear out when you're in the unit, so normal wear and tear you won't be charged for. And keys must be returned to the office. Now, just because you say you're moving does not mean you do not have to pay rent.
That's right.
Yes, you do. North Carolina law states even though you are moving, you have to pay your rent. Your rent will stop the day you bring the keys in. So please bring your keys back, therefore we can stop the rent, because if you skip out, we don't know you're gone. Let us know that you're moving. That will be the best deal.
But do understand that with your security deposit, if there are any pending charges on your account that have not been applied, such as excess utility or work order charge, any pending charge will come out of that $250 before we refund it to you. So you may not get the full amount back, but anything that is left beyond what is owed to the Rocky Mount Housing Authority will be returned to you within 30 days after you move out.
Also, there's annual redetermination that's a must that you have to come to once a year. You will receive a letter from the person that's doing the recertification, and if at that time you can't make that appointment that day and time, please call that person and reschedule. There's no problem with that, because we know if you're not working, you don't make money. But they will be glad to reschedule that. Also, please give your information truly. Giving false information or omitting information is punishable under our federal law and guidelines, and could cause termination of your dwelling lease, because we do have what we call it, Ms. Phillips, EIV.
Employment Income Verification Systems. As we talked about rent, when we stated that your rent was based on 30% of your total household income, a lot of times residents will fail to report increase in income, and when they come in for the annual redetermination, and we call it recertification as well, when we pull the EIV report, it will reflect every job that you've had, and any unreported income will be discovered at that time. And we've had many cases where residents got into a situation where they had to pay back rent. We go back to the time that you started a job, not when you actually reported it or we actually discovered it, and we charge rent, which is called back rent. And we have had some people that have had thousands of dollars that they owed to the Rocky Mount Housing Authority, and because they were unable to pay it, some people did have to move. So please, do yourself a favor and report all changes in your income or household composition, because when we pull that EIV, it will show up. And this, as she stated, this is an appointment that you have to keep. It is mandated by HUD. I've had one case so far since I've been here in 15 years where one person just decided, I'm not coming. And we had no choice but to terminate the lease. And that is a really, really, really bad situation for families with children to end up without a home for just missing an appointment. So this is a very important appointment that you need to keep, and we will change it if we need to.
Yeah.
Self-paid utilities. Now, like I explained before, we have two types of units. Some of the units, the Housing Authority has the utilities in their name, and we have some units where the resident is required to set up an account with the City of Rocky Mount, and the utilities will be in their name. With self-paid utilities, I did state that you get an allotment per bedroom size. The difference between self-paid and Rocky Mount Housing Authority paid is if the allotment will come off of the rent. Let's say your rent is $200 per month, and you're living in a two-bedroom unit. And the allotment for a two-bedroom unit is $100 per month that the Housing Authority will pay for you. That will reduce your rent by $100. You'll get your full utility bill from the City of Rocky Mount, but your rent will only be $100. Now, if it's if Rocky Mount Housing Authority has the utilities in their name, we still pay that allotment per bedroom size. But just like I stated, if you live in a home and your utility bill is $100 and you go over, let's say the Housing Authority gets a bill for $150 for your home, that means we'll pay $100 and $50 will be your excess utility bill. So either way, you're still going to get the allotment, but there's just a difference that the way it's paid, in the way that it's paid and applied.
Hi, I'm Joe Copeland, Maintenance Director for the Rocky Mount Housing Authority. We'd like to give you some information on emergency work orders, routine work orders, also information on where our shutoffs are at in our apartments, and breaker switches. We'll walk through one of the units and some of the staff will show you training on how to clean, arrange, and refrigerate it properly. 8:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. The number is 450-3538. And the after-hour number is 977-6223. That's all emergency work orders. And that's from 5 to 8:30 in the morning. And we will provide each move-in with a list of emergency work orders. Here we have Mrs. Venus Norville, and she will demonstrate our range hood system. We have 2 fire stoppers under each range hood, and that's if you leave a pot on the stove and it overheats to a high enough temperature, it will cut on and put the fire out. They're not to be tampered with. Staff will come in and change them out when they expire. When you're cooking, if you use the range, turn the fan on at the top, you have the light and a fan. So when you're cooking, that will remove condensation out of the house. Some houses in the wintertime, they'll sweat when there's heavy cooking. She will demonstrate on how to clean the range. She will remove the 4 burners, the burner racks. And now she lifts up the range. Now some ranges, they don't lift up on the top. We have several different models, but this particular one does lift up. And this is the burners that actually the fire comes out of, and she's removing those burners now. Now inside you'll see there's debris, and that needs to be cleaned out periodically. Keep that clean and grease free. You actually have spark igniters, which we can unplug this range before you get started on cleaning it. And if you see the spark igniter sparks, that's what makes it spark. But I would recommend keeping it off and unplug it to no electrical shock. Now she's removing the burner knobs, and she's pulling them straight out so that and not turning them. And make sure that the knob is not in the on position when you pull it loose. And she does the same thing, wipe them off with a degreaser. On these this particular type, you want to use mild, not let it sit on there long, because it will take the labeling off of it, and you won't know where your on and off or light positions are. She's using a degreaser to clean the burner, and that's something like a 409 or oven cleaner. You spray them. Some labels tell you to let it sit for 30 minutes or so. You have to just check it with your label or whatever chemical that you're using. Now she's using a steel wool pad to clean it off. With this steel wool pad, it has a soap residue in it. Once that dries, what happens a lot, that soap will form back over the pilot holes on the burner and clog it up, and that's why they won't light at times. We'll show you in a minute how to solve that problem. And she's going around the little portholes now. Actually, on this burner, when you're cleaning it, you see the little tip on the end. Do not remove that or change its position. Just clean around it best you can, but don't change the position of that burner. Also, here you'll find the little portholes I was speaking of earlier. There's 2 down there, and then there's 3 here. And clean that out with a pin, not enlarging in it, not to make the burner wider. You just want to use a bread wrapper, piece of wire from a bread wrapper, or a small safety pin, and just stick it in and out, and that removes any grease and residue once it's dry. And she's removing any residue that's in there. And as I said, once you use a steel wool pad with soap, you need to rinse it very well because it will cake back up. If the residue is on that, it will clog them back up. Put it back together and you turn it back on and you see that the flame is not coming all the way around that burner. And that's the problem. They're clogged. And if you call the maintenance department, he's going to come and unclog it and he will charge you. Now she's going to the oven. Now she'll spray the oven down with the oven cleaner and let it sit. And normally if you let that sit 30 minutes or so, or whatever the recommendation of the label is on the chemical that you're using, you come by and rub it out with a steel wool pad and then rinse it with some rinse water, damp rinse water. Not let water pour down into the range, and at any point you just want to wipe it. You don't want to pour water into the range. She's removing the racks. And they will be sprayed also. And now the bottom section is a broiler pan that can be pulled out. You can pull the broiler pan out, wipe and clean the debris out, same way you did the oven, and clean out the tray, and then put everything back together. And here we have Miss Bessie Hatchett, and she's going to show the proper way to clean the refrigerator. Right now she's cleaning the refrigerator door gasket. This gasket can hold grease, hand residue from cooking products, and it can wear and it'll tear apart. And then your food will start spoiling. So we need to keep them intact. And that's what she's doing now, cleaning that gasket. And what she's showing here, keeping the freezer part wiped out. If you spill anything inside of the freezer, you need to wipe it up immediately, because once it goes into defrost, that will turn liquefied and it will run. And that will cause a problem when it goes down and clog up the vent pipe holes in the freezer. Now we'll move down to the refrigerator compartment. This is another gasket, refrigerator door gasket. The top one was a freezer door gasket. And this is the same thing. She's cleaning that periodically. You keep those clean and they last long. Sometimes kids will go in, juice is spilled, and you'll find a lot of wear and tear at the bottom here. And if grease runs down here, that's where their usually problem starts. Excuse me. Yeah, grease, Kool-Aid, tea, sweet things. But on the temperature control on all our refrigerators should be at 5. Never turn above it or below 5. The refrigerator bulbs, if they go out, call in a work order for appliance bulb and it will be replaced with no charge. Never put any other bulb inside the refrigerator. It is not designed for a 60 watt, 100 watt bulbs. Here we have a GFI receptacle. This is called a ground fault receptacle interrupter. And this is for in case you find them in your bathrooms and also in your kitchens. If you were in the bathroom or in the kitchen using an electrical appliance and it fell into the water, it will automatically cut itself off. So sometimes when you have microwave things on the countertop, they may kick it off and kick the breaker off. And that's off. You can reset it by just pushing this button here to reset. Then your power will come back on. If it continues to kick out, you have a problem, notify the maintenance department. Here we have a smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector. It's a combination detector. This we'll test this here. We don't want tenants to tamper with them. Maintenance department will test them anytime they come to your house to do a job, to repair a job. And this is what you'll hear. If she should have a problem with a beeping noise, it's probably need a battery change. Do not tamper it. Do not touch it. That will be answered on a 24-hour maintenance call. That falls under the emergency. They will come out and change out a battery. But if it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, if you can wait to 8, we appreciate it. But for your safety, we will come out and change the batteries if we need to. That's why we don't want you tampering with it, because it is a $100 fine for each detector. All right, here we have a thermostat. And on this thermostat, it's set on 72. This is the setting that which temperature that you desire. Right now, it's set on heat. It always should be set on automatic. When it says see fan, on automatic. If you turn it on, it will run continuously. And that will result in a high utility bill. If you want air conditioning, you switch it back over to air, always leaving it in the automatic position. The higher you turn it up, if it's on heat, the hotter it will get, the higher utility bill. The lower you put it on cool, cooler it'll get, higher utility bill. Here you have a cold water and a hot water shutoff. If you have a problem with your faucet and can't shut it off there, this way you would cut it off under here and shut it off there till the maintenance department gets there. Some units may have a whole house shut off under the kitchen sink. Depends on the design of the house. All of them are not there. Under this lavatory sink, you have a shut off, cold water shut off on the side, hot water shut off on the other side. On the commode, you have a shut off at the bottom of the commode. To shut off the commode, down here.
Hi, my name is Annie Jones. I'm your Community Service Coordinator. My job is to make sure your community service is in compliance, which is mandated by the HUD housing. Each adult that's 18 or over are required to do community service if you are not in school full-time, which is 12 hours, or if you are not working a 20-hour job, or in any kind of self-sufficiency program or training programs. You are required to do the 8 hours per month. If you are in school full-time, which is 12 hours, you are exempt. If you are working part-time and in school part-time, you are exempt. If you are on work first, you are exempt also. If for any unfortunate reason you are disabled or blind, 62 years or older, you are not required to do the 8 hours of community service. If at any time you are a non-exempt person and you become exempt, it is your responsibility to let your housing manager or myself know that you are no longer required to do the community service hours. Then your community service hour will stop and you will not be in non-compliance. We do have different programs at the Housing Authority that you can participate in, like the budgeting classes. We have housekeeping classes. Also, you can come to your resident council meeting each month, and you will be getting community service hours. We have a list of nonprofit agencies that you can go to and do your community service, because you are required to do it at nonprofit agencies. Nonprofit agencies are agencies such as schools, daycares, nursing home. You can do it at the homeless shelter, the food bank. You can volunteer at your church. But make sure that when you go to wherever you go to do your community service, to take your time sheet, which is filled out by the supervisor that's in charge of you doing your community service hours. Community service hours are turned in at the end of each month. You cannot skip a month and double up on your community service hours unless circumstances warrant that you can't do it that month. Then you need to contact your housing manager or myself so we can talk to you and let you know how you can catch up your hours. The contract states that if you fall behind, if circumstances warrant that you can't do your community service, you need to let Ms. Hope, your housing manager, Ms. Ann Harris, or myself know that there is a problem, and you do have to bring in documentation showing that you cannot do the hours. We do not want you to lose your house for 8 hours a month. If at any time you feel like you need to talk to me about whatever's going on with your community service, please do not hesitate to come to my office and see me.
Hi, my name is Officer Whitted. I'm the Rocky Mount Housing Authority officer. I'm here to go over with you just a violation notice. First on the violation notice is parking and washing vehicles on the lawn of Rocky Mount Housing Authority. That is not permitted. It's a $40 fine. Litter in the yard. You are responsible for all litter in the yard. So you got to clean up whatever the yard you have. Make sure if people throw paper on your yard, make sure you are responsible for cleaning it up. Interior furniture on the porch. We don't allow any interior furniture like sofas, couches outside on the porch for Rocky Mount Housing Authority. Unlicensed vehicles on premise. That's a $40 fine. That means you got to keep up with your registration of your vehicle and inspection. All Rocky Mount Housing Authority will come and cut the grass. You're responsible for just keeping up with the leaves that fall. And all you do is rake them up and put them in a pile, and we'll come pick them up. Next, I want to talk about is the Rocky Mount Housing Authority ban sheet. The Rocky Mount Housing Authority ban sheet is all personnel that have been banned from Rocky Mount Housing Authority. They're not allowed on any of our premises throughout the city. We have 13 sites. Look on the ban list and see if they've been banned. If they've been banned, they don't need to be on the property or be next to any Rocky Mount Housing Authority property at any time.